I'm fluent in Spanish and I can travel to a Spanish-speaking country and not have to use English. Yet, I still can feel very nervous, anxious, timid, and have a lot of fear just at the thought of having a conversation with a native Spanish speaker. Why is that? I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm an introvert, so this experience is really fun, right? You know what makes me very uncomfortable? When Spanish speakers hear me speaking Spanish, and more specifically, when Spanish speakers overhear me speaking Spanish. So for example, there have been many times where I go to a taqueria, to a Mexican restaurant, and I'm at the cash register, right? And I'm ordering my food. So I'm having a one-on-one conversation, so I'm somewhat okay. I feel fairly comfortable with that conversation that I'm having, right? But what makes me very anxious is when there are many other people right next to the cash register that are, sitting down, they're eating, and they are listening to the conversation, or at least I perceive they are listening to our conversation because I don't want everybody hearing me speak Spanish, right? So it's a little weird. I don't know why I'm like that, but that is what's going through my head. Like, please don't hear me right now. I mean, depending on how big the taqueria is, it wouldn't be that difficult to hear me having a conversation with someone who's at the cash register because some of the tables can be very, very close. Would that make you very nervous? I'm not a fan of having a big audience. So in those moments, I really had to just push myself to keep on speaking Spanish with that person and not try to focus on everybody else that may be listening. So sometimes what I've done as well is lowered my voice a little bit, maybe mumbled a little bit so not everybody could hear me. It's very, very strange, and I really can't explain why I have that kind of timid feeling, but it happens. A similar experience is when I'm having a conversation in Spanish, but I'm having a conversation in Spanish with a group of native Spanish speakers. This gives me a lot of anxiety. I think it was in 2022 when I met a group of Cubans and we went out to this one Latino club, right? So then we were outside of the club. Inside of the club, I wasn't really speaking Spanish because there's a lot of people there. And again, I don't really like a lot of people hearing me. But then we were outside and I think there was around like 5 or 6 of us. And I was just quiet. I did not contribute much to the conversation that was going on in this group that much at all. Especially because this was my first time having exposure to the Cuban dialect. So I couldn't really even understand everybody who was in this group having this Spanish or having this conversation in Spanish. So that made me nervous as well. And I just wanted to listen and not really respond. This is something that I really need to work on because it should be really, really fun having conversations with multiple Spanish speakers all at the same time, right? Like a big group. But for whatever reason, I have not been able to overcome this fear. So if you have any tips for me, please let me know in the comment section below. I would appreciate it. I have to stop being so shy. But again, if it's just like a one-on-one conversation, I feel a lot more comfortable. Or if I'm having a conversation with my friends, that's a little bit different. So if it's like a group of my friends and we're speaking Spanish, then I don't really feel that timid. But if it's a group of Spanish speakers that I don't know, that's a completely different story. Or even if I am having conversations with native speakers on Hello Talk, then that's also different because I don't have to see that person face to face. That's just, sending voice recordings or sending them text messages, unless I would do like a video call, but even that is still pretty different and it's still more personal, just one-on-one. So if you are very introverted like I am, and maybe you don't feel very comfortable with having conversations with native speakers of your target language in person, Hello Talk may be a good resource for you. Check out my new Spanish resource kit that is linked down below in the description if you are looking for resources to learn Spanish. It has over 60 resources like TV shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels. So you can learn Spanish in a variety of ways. And it will save you time because you don't have to go out and search for these resources on your own. Another weird thing about being an introvert and a language learner for me is that I can be quite avoidant. And that is because sometimes I like to talk and sometimes I don't like to talk. I can't tell you why. I can't really tell you when those moments are going to be, besides when I'm really tired. But there are just sometimes I don't feel like having conversations with native Spanish speakers. It is not because I can't, but it's just I don't want to. One aspect of that is being criticized. So sometimes I don't like being criticized by people. I guess nobody likes being criticized by people. So then I would rather just be silent and not start up a conversation with a Spanish speaker so I don't have to feel those feelings, right? Because it doesn't feel good. I don't want to feel like I'm stupid because I'm making mistakes, or feel like I'm not cultured because maybe I can't fit in with that Spanish speaker that I'm talking to. This happened to me a lot when I was in the Dominican Republic for the first time. I felt really disconnected with the people there and the culture because I didn't sound like them, and it was my first time there, so I knew nothing about the country, didn't really know anything about the culture, so it felt really weird. So I avoided having many conversations in Spanish there for those very reasons. Apart from being criticized for my Spanish and just not wanting to speak at certain moments, there are other many moments where I really just don't want to be around people at all. That makes it kind of rough when you are trying to improve your speaking skills, improve your language skills, when you just want to be alone a lot of the time. Being an introvert and a language learner is not all bad, because thankfully there are many different ways that we can learn our target languages, and we don't always just have to be around people and have conversations with natives to learn and to increase our language skills. But I can learn a lot just from my home, which I do actually all the time. I love to read books in Spanish and also French, because I'm learning French and Spanish at the same time, which is quite difficult. But that gives me a lot of opportunity to stay at home, because I can read books all day long and I won't have a problem at all. I can journal in French and Spanish as well. I can listen to podcasts. I can listen to a lot of music. And if you know any good French artists, please let me know, because I don't really know any. I can watch movies, I can watch TV shows, I can watch YouTube videos. There are plenty of things that I can do right here at home. If you are a language learner and you have a personality like mine, don't stress yourself out. We may have many moments during our language learning journey where we have a lot of fear, where we have a lot of anxiety, where we feel very shy, we feel very timid, but that is okay, and it's something, honestly, that we are just going to have to face every single day and work through. All right, I hope this video was very helpful, and if it was, share it with one of your language learning friends. Hasta luego.